Joining us now, he's the head coach at North Texas. Hard to believe he's in his fifth season, fresh off a Conference USA championship and a regional final appearance up in the NCAA tournament this past season. I speak of Rodney DeLong, joins us here on In the Circle. Coach, good to catch up with you once again.
Hey, thanks for having us on. Appreciate what you do for softball and all the publicity you try to create. So thanks for having me.
When you reflected back on last season and the great year you had for the program, what comes to your mind when you think back to last year?
Uh, you know, um, I'll tell you one thing: we're pretty motivated. Obviously, everybody uses motivation. I think this group in particular felt like they had something to prove. We were disappointed with the way the year ended the previous season, and I guess that was 21. And we lost one of our pitchers, and so we just felt like we had something to prove, and we felt like a lot of people were sleeping on us a little bit, and it was definitely something we used. We had to sit around and listen to everybody talk about everybody else, and so like that was perfect. That was like music to my ears. So definitely sold that to this young group, and they took it and ran with it. Um, and we had a solid year.
Obviously the conference tournaments are always kind of a crapshoot at times. It's a easy play because you've won conference championships. What was it about last year's team? You mentioned obviously you had a chip on the shoulder, a little bit of a respect card. But what
Mhm.
was it about this team, the ingredients that it had that maybe some of the other great teams you've had didn't have, or one of those things that just put them over the hump?
Yeah, again, like they came into the year pretty motivated. I think one thing that really helped us going into the tournament is that we fell short in the regular season. We finished second. We lost that last game to Marshall, where if we would at least swept that series, we could have had a share of it. We had a bad series against La Tech, and we just felt like, it just left a really bad taste in our mouth. And so I just feel like going into the tournament, they were highly motivated and really, I felt like we gave our best mental shot and our best physical shot against, the teams that we played there. And they kind of took a refuse to lose mentality into that thing. And so I think how the regular season kind of ended for us definitely pushed us over the edge there. And it was fun. It was a good experience for us because we were a pretty young team last year. And so it was really getting into the regional tournament and then really winning a couple games and playing OSU on that stage and playing them tough. I mean, you don't get better experience than that. So like with the young group that like we had last year, man, I just felt like that really helped us set us up and really to show us like how far we've come as a program. Because in years past when we played some of these teams, I felt like 1 through 9, maybe we didn't match up physically, but I felt like physically we were right there with them, in that regional. We were right there with Nebraska, obviously eliminating them and then going toe to toe with OSU on their home field. Really just more than anything proved to us where we're at, where we're going.
Take me through that championship game against Western Kentucky where your team put a clinic. I mean, you played as maybe as well as any team played that day. I mean, a very good Western Kentucky team, and you took care of them. What went through your mind as those outs were coming and that final out finally came, and you realized, hey, we got the automatic bid and hoisted the trophy.
It's something that we've been after. Unfortunately, we've left it to fate by losing in the conference tournament the previous couple of years, and so we got that big early lead, which our goal there was to try to jump out early and hopefully have some success against a great pitcher that had a very good year for them. And so yeah, we get out to that lead, and all of a sudden you go, hey, this thing's about to happen, and it was relief, I think, more than anything. It's just one of those, as you grow your program, there's certain humps you have to get over. And that was definitely one that was, in our face and something we needed to overcome. And so, yeah, it was definitely a great feeling and very satisfying for our staff and for our team.
And then you mentioned that regional in Stillwater, a stacked regional with a talented Nebraska team. Oklahoma State, we saw what they did. They were literally outs away from playing for the national championship. And you got to that regional final and you pushed them. Uh, what was it like to be part of that regional?
Oh, it was great. It was a great regional. We felt comfortable there for one. We know we're really familiar with Oklahoma State's team, and our staff's really familiar with their staff. So I think that kind of helped us a little bit as far as nerves go and everything. And it was a great overall experience. They did such a good job hosting us and making us feel welcome. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So we were blessed to get to go to Stillwater for a regional, and again, it was just great experience that our team needed.
Now you coming in as easy return a great nucleus of that team from last year. What's been the message to this team this fall? Because the expectations are higher, and people are kind of looking at your team. So, what's been the message this year to your team?
We're always trying to raise the bar, right? And so, while last year was fun, another thing I enjoyed about like our group is they're watching the super regionals, they're watching the World Series, and there's a thought that we could be there, we could be there. This like we're not that far away, and so that's a motivating factor, a new motivating factor. I think the thing I worry about with this group is just forgetting how tough it was to get where we got last year. Like we have to keep that in mind. Like there are other teams that are motivated to really take us down within our own conference. We have to be aware of that. We have to continue to work hard, keep the chip on our shoulder. I'm kind of a chip on your shoulder, boulder on your back type of guy anyway. And so, we can't lose sight of what got us here, and that has to continue. We have to continue to grind and work hard and be hungry. And so we're constantly trying to challenge them mentally and challenge their urgency. And so I think, more than anything, it's just, can we handle pressure this year? The pressure of expectation, and can we be urgent, when we're not playing top teams? And that's really the challenge to this group. And, now we go from being a fairly young group to being more of a veteran based group. And so I hope that the day to day is more consistent. And that's what I expect out of them.
Who are some of your vocal leaders on this team that you lean on to be bring that leadership either on the field or off the field?
Yeah, and it's funny. We have a leadership group that does it in different ways, but some of the real vocal ones, Sierra Simon, actually was a freshman a year ago. We knew coming into her program her leadership capabilities, and like as a freshman last year, she had to spend time proving herself and proving herself to her teammates, but really became a good vocal leader as the season progressed. And she really is that, especially when we're playing games. She's kind of the commander on the field, doing a lot of the talking, helping with the alignments and everything. Ashley Peters is a kid that transferred to us a year ago. Same kind of thing, kind of had to prove herself to the group and get comfortable. But once she did, became a good leader for us. And then we have others that chip in different ways. Another good one is Molly Rainey, like kid that just, continues to push her teammates to make good decisions, to work hard, to hit extra, to put in the different times. She kind of leads in her own ways. But, I would say really those first two are probably our biggest vocal leaders in this group. And then Michaela Smith has actually kind of come along as a leader. She played second base for us a year ago. It means a lot to her. And she's almost like a mother hen on the team, and she keeps them in line and keeps them in check, and she pushes them. So.
Let's talk about your pitching staff. You had a great 1-2 punch led by Ashley Peters, as you mentioned, Skylar Savage. And
Yep.
I think that's one of the things, too, now that your program has been known for is developing great pitchers
Yep.
there now. Just talk about first the success you've had since you've been there with pitching that has continued now with a great 1-2 punch you have coming back and leading the way as far as in the circle.
Right. Yeah. Jamie's done a great job with our kids. Not only does she help develop them physically, but she's really good for them mentally too. She's tough on them in the pen. She requires a lot for them. She stays on them all the time about their competitive nature and the way they think, and she doesn't just develop the player. She helps to try to develop the overall human, which is a big deal when you're talking about progressing and getting better. And she's very game smart, and she's very competitive. So she's really good for our kids in the pen. And then I just I feel like we've done a good job of evaluating kids and evaluating their potential and fit and everything like that. That thing's important to us. And so, yeah, we've done a good job of getting kids in here and making them better. And you got to credit the kids too. They come in here and they work hard, and that, if you're a hard worker and you want to win games, like we're a good fit. You know what I mean? It's kind of twofold, but we've done good with our pitchers, and I really like our depth this year coming. We got those two coming back. We've added some good arms too, so we should be really tough again in the circle.
What makes Peters and Savage so successful? How are they different? How are they similar as a 1-2 punch leading the way there?
Right. Yeah, they're both kind of down in the zone. They both are firm and throw pretty hard. They're both really good athletes. And then they kind of handle things a little differently. Ashley's really competitive, really a perfectionist. Skylar, obviously, she's big and the ball moves and she's pretty electric. And Skylar she didn't let a whole lot of things bother her. She gives up a big hit. She just kind of laughs or smiles like when she hangs a pitch, and it just kind of bounces off of her. She's kind of bubbly. Where Ashley's, she's a little more in tune with competitiveness, and she gets frustrated and she gets, and so, they're motivated a little bit differently, but they're just really good athletes more than anything. They filled their position really well, which helps both of them. And they both care. They both care about our program. They care about our staff. And they care about winning and being good people. And so, one thing that I do see is like our team rallies around them through their struggles, through their successes. Our team loves both of them, and they play really hard for them. And that's not always the case. We've had kids in the circle, before that, the team doesn't necessarily all care for. But the thing about this group and our culture is they love each other, and it means something to them. And so our team really rallies behind them and fights hard for them.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? Coaches, you could feel a certain way about pitchers, but the players are always usually give you that final answer, like how they feel confident playing behind a certain pitcher. They may, like I've seen it where certain pitchers bring the most out of their team, and they'll run through a wall with the player, and that just changes the complexion of that team. And I sense that's the same with the pitchers you've got.
Absolutely, yes. Like they, they're good people too, and their competitive spirit, and they don't get upset at their teammates when they make mistakes. And it's really cool to watch. It's really cool to see how they compete together and for each other. And yeah, it's the mentality of both of them kids coming into our program last year really just just really helped that relationship.
Offensively, hit 288 as a team last year, led by Kaylee Gamble, hit 14 homers, 48 RBIs, 351 average. Molly Rainey, you mentioned earlier, really a kid that I liked a lot when you got her. I'd known her for a little while, hit 315, 6 homers, 23 RBIs. Kaylee Christensen, 10 homers, 43 RBIs. Just talk about your offense overall, led by those young ladies and the others that contribute.
Yeah. Just I saw a lot of growth. All those kids that you named, played 2 years ago, and they were fairly young players. 2 of those were actually freshmen, Molly being a redshirt freshman that year. And so, really just to see their overall progression from year 1 to year 2. Usually when kids come to the end of my program, we spend a good full year really developing, and we have some success, but I always see a lot more success returned in year 2. And then now I'm really looking forward to year 3 because most of this lineup has been with me for 2 years now. They're athletic. They're older. They're more mature. They're smarter about the game. They're more patient. And so I definitely have good expectations for our offense this year. I think we have a chance to be really good, and we've added some speed and we've added some other things that, I think that can help with what we already have coming back.
Who are some of the new faces on the team you think can contribute to this team?
Just immediately, Mackenzie Wagner is a pitcher that transferred to us from Liberty. Kid's actually originally from the state of Oklahoma. Kid that we were familiar with, and she's more of a curveball, up ball type kid. So she definitely offsets our 2 down ball pitchers that we had a year ago that led the way. There's a freshman named Mackenzie Childers, another kid that throws in the mid 60s, has a really good rise ball, curveball type kid, a lot of movement. Still learning, how to pitch at this level. She's more of a thrower, but her potential, her ceiling's really high, and we'll see how she develops. But I think she is going to contribute. We got a transfer from Oklahoma State, Tatum Sparks, very talented kid out of high school, dealt with some injuries and stuff last year, but has looked really good to this point, and still going to take her a little time because she missed almost a full year of softball. But as she gets at bats and things, like, you can tell the kid's pretty special. She's pretty powerful, can really play anywhere. So she's definitely going to help us. And then there's Jody Epperson, freshman, played in the Texas Glory organization. That's another really talented outfielder that can also play the infield and is probably the second fastest kid on our team. So she gives us a little bit of that speed dynamic, but she's also powerful. She doesn't look powerful, but she is. And, those are some of the immediate kids I think that can help us. But really, like, depth-wise, this is probably the deepest team I've ever coached. Actually, it's probably not. It is. Very versatile, very athletic group, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it unfolds.
What's the key to evaluating talented players to make sure they succeed the maximum? Because we've talked in the past when you've been on about finding those diamond in the roughs and those players that maybe you see something in a player that others don't see and you bring the most out of them. What's the key to finding that?
Like Skylar's an example. Skylar actually did play for some decent organizations, and a lot of people watched her like we recruiter. But while I saw Skylar struggle a little bit at the high travel level, when she was going through the recruiting process, I also saw a kid that was 6'1". That was a three-sport athlete. I think pretty sure she was an all-stater in two of the three sports she played. She was successful in all three, and I knew that like she comes in and she focuses only on softball in the weight room. Like I knew she had a chance to be pretty dynamic, and she has like a quick twitch to her. Like that's another thing that we grade and we look at is in hitters and pitchers too. Are they athletic? Are they quick twitch? And that's something that Skylar is. And so that was a pretty easy yes for me, and her potential was pretty easy to to get into 4C. And it changes. We look for certain things, but I think one thing that's really overlooked, or maybe it's not, but one thing that we focus on is just also like, what kind of human is this kid? Is this a hardworking kid? Is this a kid that's respectful, that treats her parents right, that treats her teammates right, that works hard when she plays? Like kids that can be coached and kids that are willing to grind and that are grateful for what they got seem to improve too, right? So, we take a hard look at the character of the kid too, and this is something that we've learned over time. This is something we've learned since we've been here. Character is really important to the development of the player, because if it's a kid that's willing, that wants to work and go, like this kid's going to get better, and so that's some of the other evaluating factors that we use, not just
Right. Let's talk about, this is going to be the final year for the program, for the university in Conference USA. You're going to go to the American Conference. Do you talk about that with your players at all? Because with that, obviously you're the defending champions. You're going to be moving on to a different league. So there's a lot of, I'm sure there's going to be a target on their team's back. There's going to be obviously a lot of kind of attention towards all that stuff. How much of that noise do you even bring up with your team, first of all?
we try to worry about ourselves more than anything. We're all aware of it. We know it's all about to happen. More than anything, we're focused on here and now and focused on what lies in front of us today. We're still a year away and a lot of things could happen in a year. But yeah, I mean, we're excited about it. It's definitely going to be a good move for us and for our university. But I'll be honest with you, we don't chat much about it at all. It's not spoken of much at all. Actually, sometimes I think last year we played one of the American teams, and I don't even know if our girls realized they were an American program. So I don't care much. I think they want to work hard, they want to win, and we want to figure out a way to get to a super regional. So that's really more of our concern.
What does that move, when it happens to the American, mean for you and the program overall? Because obviously, if they won't affect this year's team, obviously, but I would assume it's affecting your recruiting already from that standpoint.
Yeah. No, it definitely helps. The American has it's a little shinier conference for sure. Obviously, the revenue sharing is better for our university, and just the reputation of the conference is really good for us. And then even the schools that are moving into the American from our conference, there's a lot of good, like a lot of the top teams in our league right now, we're all going over. So I feel like we'll help with what was left in that conference. And I think the potential of having a 3 to 5 bid league will be good to play in, right? So it doesn't put all the pressure on the conference tournament, which would be nice, because I felt like we've been good enough to win games in regionals in the previous couple of years, and we haven't got that opportunity. And I feel like a bit of it was just the overall RPI of our conference, which I think this new league, the overall RPI will be a little higher, and that'll help us. And so we're actually, as a staff, we're excited and looking forward to the challenge of it.
Yeah, it should help. Definitely, right. It's been a great multiple bid league, and certainly create more resume games within the conference. Makes it easier from a scheduling standpoint, where you don't feel like you maybe have to overcompensate non-conference, even though you do like playing a tough schedule out of conference to get you ready for conference.
Right. That's correct.
The local papers, which I always enjoy when local papers cover softball. You were in the news in the local papers in the offseason for agreeing to an extension with the school, which was important, because as you know, this is how the industry works. When you're successful, your name gets floated every time a job opens.
Right.
First of all, how do you feel when that happens, when your name gets floated, even if it's not with other jobs? It's a compliment to the job you're doing, but it's got to be awkward at the same time, right?
Yeah. Overall, it's a compliment and it's a testament to any coach gets or something like that. But it doesn't always help. I think sometimes people probably use it against me in the recruiting world, and then obviously it makes my kids uncomfortable too. Sometimes my players, and so yeah, I mean it is what it is, and honestly, like you just have to try to be honest if the question's asked, and I mean so it's I think it's more of a good thing than anything. And for me, like I really like it here at UNT. They're really taking care of me financially, which is important, and we're taking care of our assistants, and we're pouring money into our program, and our administration is supportive. So overall, it's very good for us.
When I remember when I talked to you when you got hired, you said you loved that area. It was close to home. You felt you could really get great talent. You could build a winner there. How important was it? As I mentioned, reports coming with the extension to tell everybody, hey, you're here in the long haul. You like what you're building. This is just the beginning.
Right. Yeah. And that's really what we've been selling, to our recruits as of late. And I feel like we're recruiting at a high level this year. We're putting together a really good staff. I mean, a really good roster as far as the 2024 class goes. Yeah. That definitely helps the story. So it's not just talk, you can see it, you can see it for yourself, and actually that paper put out everything and all the details in my contract. So anything that I verbalized was just reaffirmed, with that. So yeah, that definitely helps, and it also shows the support from our admin, which is really important in a program.
What's that like now to becoming like all of a sudden people reporting about you, becoming a big thing? That's what happens with success, right? Like all of a sudden people recognize you there.
Right. It's definitely not, something I never imagined. When I got into coaching, I think my first couple years of coaching, I saw myself as a longtime high school coach, and maybe someday I'd be in some Hall of Fame, right? Like that's how I looked at it, and never imagined I'd be making the amount of money I'm making coaching, and coaching at this level, and I love it, and I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and definitely I feel blessed, and I'm excited. I love what I do, and I like it here in Denton, and hopefully we'll just keep this thing going.
Talk about your staff. You mentioned Jamie Elred earlier, who runs the pitching staff, but your staff as a whole, obviously, which helps build the program and the success. Talk about the staff and their contributions and the roles they bring to the program.
Right. So we added Jason Gwynn a year ago. He had some experience in college softball, and then went the high school route for a little bit, and then into the travel world for a little bit, and then we brought him onto our staff. Jason has done an unbelievable job. He's a tireless worker. He's constantly asking me, pushing me. Like, the guy loves to recruit. He's got great relationships in the recruiting world, as he came from Texas Glory, and then actually had his own program in Mizuno Impulse Gold before he combined with Glory. He's older than me, which is good for me. I've never really had a true mentor. He's opened my eyes to some things and changed my eyes. Changed my eyes about some things. And while another thing I really like about Jason is, like, we both have a common goal, but he sees things differently than I do, and so he challenges the way I look at things, and and that's good for me. And so, like, Jason provides great balance in our staff, and our kids love him and love playing for him. And man, he has really upped our game in our program, and he's been a big contributor to really the success we had last year, and really like what we've got going forward with recruiting and everything else. And then we hired Katie Self as our volunteer this year. Katie played at the University of Oklahoma, actually won a couple national championships. Starter. Katie's a very blue collar, hard nosed kid. She's got some head coaching experience in the travel world, and she wants to get into coaching, like, at this level, and her experience as a player, her experience as a coach, she brings a lot of good perspective, and some of the things that they were doing at Oklahoma, and just things that we can bounce off of her, and just an awesome human. And so she's also made, just in the short amount of time she's been here, she's made a good contribution. And so I'm fortunate, to have these people around me, because I think one thing I learned from some of the better coaches that I grew up admiring is that the common thing was, like, get people in here that are just as good or better than you. Like, that's the whole goal. And so, like, that's what I've tried to do as a coach, is I've tried to surround myself with great coaches, and I let them coach. Like, yes, I'm the head coach, this is my program, quote unquote, but man, I let them I let them go to work, and we hire them for a reason, and they're here for a reason, and so I let them do them, and it's made me better, and it's made us better, and it's been a good experience.
Couple last things before we let you go. There's so much going on in college athletics right now that we don't even have time to talk all the issues. But there's been a ton of issues that affect softball with transfer portals and NIL and all that. You've been someone that's been outspoken about that because you care about the sport. You have concerns. What are some things that kind of you're worried about? You think needs to be addressed in the game, or concerns that you might have that you think has to be addressed?
I just, at the end of the day, you know, I I just want people to be to do it with some integrity, right? Like there's some tampering going on that I don't like to see. And honestly, like the portal wasn't created. It wasn't created to bolster your roster basically by tampering with other people's rosters. Like the portal was created for kids to have an opportunity to go somewhere else when their when their current situation isn't the situation they signed up for, or whatever it is, right? Like if a kid wants to leave, they can freely leave because they're 5, 10, what was it, 10 years ago, if a kid left your roster, you could literally block the entire Division 1 from that kid, where that kid would have to downgrade to D2 or whatever it is. I wouldn't call it a downgrade, but you could force your hand on a kid transferring, and now they have the freedom to transfer, which I think is a good thing. I want kids to be able to do that. I don't like seeing some of the back channel cheating that's going on with the portal. I don't care for that, and so it's frustrating to me. And it's something that we're going to deal with, and it is what it is. And all we can do is continue to recruit our kids, develop our kids, and create a great culture. And honestly, I think the portal will help us more, right? And so we're going to lose a kid here and there, and that's going to be the way it is. But also, we're a good situation because you're coming into a place that is going to develop you, play at a high level. And if your aspirations is to transfer to the number 1 or number 2 school in the country when you leave here as a senior because you want that opportunity, well, we're going to put you in that position because I feel like we develop our athletes just as good as anybody in the country. And I feel like that's something that we're really good at. We have a really healthy environment. So when a kid comes through here, they're going to love softball, and they're going to get a lot better, and they're going to have a chance to play on a big stage, and they're going to win championships. And that's all we can worry about, right?
No, I 100% agree with you. Do you what I just the thing I struggle with, I don't know what the solution is. Is it a self-policing thing? Is there some guidelines that should be added? That's because I agree everything with you said. I have the same similar concerns.
Yeah, it's almost getting to be the Wild West,
Yeah.
really. It really is. All right. And so it's tough. And now you add the NIL piece, which awesome is another awesome piece, right? Like the NIL thing is good. I love seeing athletes make money, and there's so many athletes that come into these situations that don't come from money. And so like, man, this really affords them a great opportunity. I'm all for it. But yes, I mean, we're still kind of navigating through this stuff. I would like to see more restrictions on the transfer portal, and I believe that's what's coming. They're actually creating some windows now where you have to transfer by this time, and like I feel like if you transfer late in the year, you shouldn't be eligible for that year, and things like that. I mean, we're slowly policing this thing. I do think that we will slow down a bit. We kind of just open Pandora's box and just things are just flying all over the place right now. But I do think things will reel in. It'll get better, and it's just something that we deal with, right? And like you can't be opposed to either one of these things because if you do, you're going to be left behind, right? And
Right.
so I ain't worried about it as far as that goes. We're going to grow with the environment, and we're going to do our best to navigate through this thing. And I trust that our ads and our presidents and all that, they'll rein it in a little bit, and they'll make it a little more fair, I guess you could say, and we'll just see how it goes. But we've got some good things going on here, so I'm not too worried about it.
Well, and I like the fact there's dialogue going on with that to try to improve it, and you've been right at the forefront of that. So I really appreciate you being open and talking about it because that's the only way things
No,
can change and improve things is by talking it out. And I feel communication is always a key.
right, and you'd be surprised that sometimes my assistants are like, "Oh God, please don't tweet again. Like, just be quiet." But you'd be surprised at how much support came out of those tweets. How many people believe in what I said, and I'm telling you, like a whole lot, more support than the other way around. So I think people did appreciate the fact that I did come out and say it. And you know what? Like, maybe I'm that guy. I don't care, right? Like if you're doing it the right way, then it shouldn't offend you. That's my tweets offended you, then maybe you should self-evaluate how you're doing things. And also, like, I just feel like we're to the point now where we're a good situation. We're on the forefront of being a super regional World Series type team, and stay off my roster, right? Like that was my shot. That's how I feel about it. If you liked one of my kids, now, if you like them now, where were you 2 years ago, right? So I'm sorry that I did a better job of evaluating and developing. That's how I feel about it. And so I will be vocal if I have to be, but at the same time, I think overall, most everybody's doing it the right way. And it is a good community of coaches, and I really enjoy the people that I coach with and coach against. So overall, it's pretty good.
Last thing, we'll let you go on this. What's going to be the keys for this year's team to accomplish your internal goals here as you kind of continue through the fall and develop, and then before you know it, the season is here in February?
Yeah, first and foremost, like I said earlier, we have to stay hungry, stay motivated, and put in the time and work and grind and all those things that it requires. And then obviously our health. We went through some injuries last year. Really uncharacteristic year for me in my career to have so many. I think we had 5 or 6 kids that had season-ending injuries last year. So we've got to stay healthy, and hopefully we do that. And then really it's just, we got to continue to progress and grow and get better every day, incrementally, slowly, and then play our best at the end of the year. And part of that is, and part of the challenges, like with the roster that we have right now, is we have a lot of good players. And so is playing time going to divide our team, or are these kids going to be selfless and understand the greater goal and why we're here and what's more important, which is the day-to-day and the relationships and the people? And last year's group did a really good job of that. If this year's group can handle that, then I think that those are the types of things that help you grow through the grind of the season. And so last year we got through some tough stuff, and we played our best at the end of the year. And really that's our goal too. And if we can play our best softball at the end of the year, I think we can accomplish some of the things we're trying to take down.
Well, we look forward to seeing your team, Coach. But in the meantime, thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us. I know it's a busy time. I was really excited for you when you got the conference championship and got to the NCAA's last year. We've been talking since you got to North Texas, so I was always been following the program, and look forward to seeing your team this year. Thanks for doing this, and we hope to do this again down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Eric. Again, appreciate you. Appreciate what you do for softball, man. Have a good one.